வணக்கம் அன்பு சொந்தங்களே, இப்போது நேரலையில் உங்களை சந்திப்பதில் மகிழ்ச்சி. நாம் தன்னாட்சி தமிழகம் பற்றி நிறைவே சமீப காலங்களில், குறிப்பாக கடந்த ஓராண்டாக அதிகமாக பேசிக் கொண்டிருக்கிறோம். தன்னாட்சி தமிழகம் என்கிற அமைப்பு உருவானதும் இந்த காலகட்டத்தில் தான். தன்னாட்சி பற்றி ஏன் அதிகமாக பேச வேண்டி இருக்கிறது? மத்தியிலே அதிகாரம் குவிகிறது, அதன் காரணமாக நாம் தன்னாட்சி பற்றி பேசுகிறோம் என்று நாம் இதற்கு எளிதாக ஒரு விளக்கத்தை தந்துவிட முடியும். ஆனால் தன்னாட்சி என்பதை நிறுவுவதற்கு இந்திய ஒன்றியத்தில் நமக்கு ஏராளமான தோழமைகள் தேவைப்படுகின்றன. அப்படிப்பட்ட ஒரு தோழமை சக்தியாக இருப்பவர் கோர்கா சட்டர்ஜி. மேற்கு வங்க மாநிலத்தைச் சேர்ந்தவர். இவர் தொடர்ந்து தன்னாட்சிக்கான அவசியத்தை, இந்தியாவில் வாழக்கூடிய பல்வேறு தேசிய இனங்களின் தன்னாட்சிக்கான அவசியத்தை இந்திய மேடைகளிலும் உலக மேடைகளிலும் தொடர்ந்து ஒலித்துக் கொண்டிருக்கிறார். அவர் நீட்டிலிருந்து தமிழ்நாட்டுக்கு நிரந்தர விலக்கு வேண்டும் என்கிற மாநாட்டுக்காகவும், உனது பேரரசும் எனது மக்களும் என்கிற அவருடைய கட்டுரைகள் தமிழில் மொழிபெயர்க்கப்பட்டு ஆடி பதிப்பகத்தால் வெளியிடப்படக்கூடிய நிகழ்வுக்காகவும் சென்னைக்கு வந்திருக்கிறார். அவரோடு இப்போது நாம் ஆங்கிலத்தில் உரையாடுகிறோம். Garga Chatterjee, I introduce you in Tamil, and I will start with the question of you. When you touched down in Madras, you went directly to meet Mr. M. Karunanidhi, the former Chief Minister of the state, who many Tamils today are still criticizing for several reasons. Though he had a glorious past, particularly his governance during 2006 to 2011 came under sharp criticism by a lot of nationalists, Tamil nationalists and others. So what is your perspective of Karunanidhi and his role in Indian politics?
So one has to have a long range view of politics. Politics is, yes, it is of course about daily happenings, it's about this scam and that nepotism and that things. I'm aware of all the things which are talked about vis-a-vis Karunanidhi, as it is so for many other people. But one has to have a long range view. And what is that long range view? For example, right now we are recording in a studio and there are kind of equipments and there are people who kind of made these things. There are sound engineers, there are electrical engineers and everything who have passed on from a series of technical institutes in Tamil Nadu, who have studied that in English and who have now built a certain kind of technological ecology and a bourgeois economic system, and all of that is due to the generation that Karunanidhi belonged to. So our whole reality that we see around Karunanidhi is a representation of that. It is not so much a person. Yes, as a person he is extremely important, but what does he represent? He represents a certain force through which, without which our reality as we see it would not have happened. We are second-class citizens in the Indian Union. We would have been slaves of Hindi imperialism by now. We are probably resisting being slaves, but we would be complete slaves by now if Anna and his thambis, of which Karunanidhi was very prominent, was not one of them. And it's not only a Tamil Nadu issue. Remember what they were fighting against? It's like the trade union movements where trade union people fight while all the laborers get their benefit. So when Tamil Nadu fought, we Bengalis got the benefit. We did not fight that much. We had much more, I would say, backward consciousness at that point of time, or our West Bengal's leaders were too much betrothed to Delhi for their survival at that point of time. I think it's the latter, more so. But even our reality is shaped by this. So of course, for any non-Hindi person who looks at the world around him and thinks about a better future, has to go back to Karunanidhi and Anna's other thambis as a very important chapter of inspiration. And Karunanidhi represents in human form that inspiration. So of course I went directly from the airport to pay my tribute to this colossus. Remember that there are variations, there are small stories. For example, Lalu Prasad Yadav was recently prosecuted, right? And Lal Prasad Yadav is leader of the backward castes and minorities in Bihar. Lal Prasad Yadav, according to the court, has pilfered money. So many people have pilfered money. Why Lal Prasad Yadav has been put into jail? It's not because he's Lal Prasad Yadav, because he's the leader of minorities and backward castes. There's nothing special about Lal Prasad Yadav, the person. It is that representation of what he does, which means that whatever the political forces, institutional forces who put Lal Prasad Yadav in bar, but keeps a mass murderer as prime minister, has a certain political agenda. We have to understand that. And also, at the point of time when Hindustan forces are trying to wreck the constitution, we really have to have a much more pragmatic view and a realistic view of how we view people like Karunanidhi. Let me give you an analogy. Tamil Nadu is a fortress for the Tamil people. Your state parties, it can be DMK, it can be TTV, Dinakaran's party, it can be MMK, VCK, okay, all of these are like walls around this. And outside that are cannons of Hindustan. This is not the time to discuss the quality of the bricks which make your wall.
Yeah, great analogy. And you talked about the Tamil Nadu being a fortress.
Yes.
And when you look
For
at
the Tamil people.
For the Tamil people, when you look at Tamil Nadu from Delhi,
Yes.
like I will give you the recent case of the Network 18 carrying a headline, "The Fringe wins and Chennai loses." In the case of when people fought for the water, the river water rights, and they disrupted. New York Times had a better headline. They said farmers disrupt $1 billion cricket league in India, but Delhi TV channels discuss it as if the people have lost, but the fringe has won. The people who represented the interests of the state or the river water rights of the particular state are seen as fringe. Why is it so? Does Delhi have to change completely?
No. You are fringe to Delhi. That is true. When News 18 says something, it means Ambani is saying something. If Ambani says something, okay, it means that the political ecology, which is Hindustan and collaborator crony capitalists, largely Gujarat, Rajasthan. Okay, let us name these things. Why I say largely Gujarat, Rajasthan? Look at the list of NPA defaulters. Where are they from? That is the real power list in the Indian Union, where you can steal and not be caught. Stealing is not power. Stealing and not getting caught is power. Okay. That shows your reach. How many Tamils do you have there? There are no Bengalis, I can tell you, which is major money. If a nation or a people does not have a big dacoit, it means that the nation is very weak. Every strong nation has a big dacoit or has multiple big dacoits. It will sound very weird the way I am saying these things, but I think I am being able to put it. So yes, Tamil Nadu is of course fringe. Who owns this Chennai team? I do not know who owns it.
It's a Tamilian only.
It's a Tamilian only.
India Cements
Right.
Srinivasan. Yeah.
Right. The point is that what is the ad money, what is the revenue game in this whole thing, right? Who does it help? Does it help Tamil farmers? Does it help Tamil people? Does it help Tamil causes? Right? And this whole IPL system, at the end of the day, does money come into Tamil Nadu or money get out of Tamil Nadu? It's very important to know. The moment we spend looking at IPL, are we getting closer to Tamil Nadu or are we getting away from Tamil Nadu? We have only finite mind space in our times, right? So of course, imperial media or Delhi media will try to fight for that mind space and make it appear that the people's issues of Tamil Nadu are fringe issues. Because if these become central issues, then the cat, which is now appearing like a tiger, will be reduced to being a cat once more. Which is why the narrative setting is very important. Which is why, for example, it's very important how we choose words. That we do not, that we do distinguish between nation and state. That we do distinguish between republic and country. Okay? Because the moment we naturalize these terms, right? If NAR is country and India is country, how can one person have two countries? Of course, we are Indian Union citizens, no doubt about it. Then Tamil Nadu, the name itself becomes delegitimized if you refer to India as country as Tamil Nadu as country. Then you are put into a false choice, right? So yes, fringe issues will be projected as fringe, but therein lies the role of Tamil media, because no one else will do Tamil people's job than Tamil people. Don't expect Delhi to do your job. Delhi will do Delhi's job. Tamils have to do Tamil people's job.
Yeah, great. And you came here mainly for that conference, which sought an exemption, permanent exemption for Tamil Nadu from the NEET exam. And NEET exam apparently killed not just Anita, but the future of several people, several would-be doctors, wannabe doctors across Tamil Nadu. And your take on, I also listened to your speech in the US about why Tamil Nadu needs an exemption from the NEET exam. And where do we go from here? Now that in the month of May, people are going to write the NEET exam. Everywhere, there are several shops open for NEET coaching. And where do we go from here? Talking about it is important, but where do we go from here?
Just to mention 2-3 things, yes. Anita was killed by the Delhi system, by MCI, CBSE all together. Okay. Just like you have gang rape, we also have gang killing. This is like a gang killing of a person. Okay. So Anita was killed, and dreams of a majority of Tamil students who study in Tamil medium and in Tamil Nadu State Board was killed. But remember, in West Bengal, this is also true. I graduated from Kolkata Medical College. 80% of my fellow students were from West Bengal State Board. I am from West Bengal State Board. 2016, when NEET did not happen, when Justice Altamas Kobir in 2013 gave that famous decision that NEET is unconstitutional, and after that it was reversed. See, it took a Bengali, it took a non-Hindi person to deliver that judgment. Let us be very clear. We also have to look from this angle at every part of our reality. Okay, nothing is above question. Of course, we will not say that it's wrong or right, because a certain legalese stops us from doing that. It's practical question, but of course we have to look at it. Nobody can stop us from looking in a certain way. Okay, that device has not been discovered, but I'm sure they are trying to discover that. Point is that in 2016, 75% of students of West Bengal, of people who got entry into medical college in West Bengal were state board students. In 2017, the number has come down to 7%. Of course, seats are not unfilled. Who went in? CBSE people went in. Who are CBSE? They are urban people. They are rich people. Because it is CBSE, it means they do not have Bangla, their native language, as the first language. Most likely they don't even have it as the second language. So which means it is beyond some medical students around Anita. It is a question of that our state boards will be destroyed. Think about it in like this. So if 2,000 people become doctors, it means 2 lakh people are aspirants, okay, at class 12 level, let's say in Tamil Nadu itself. It means in class 1, when a parent is putting in a child, it is that base of 10 lakh people maybe, which funnels into this dream. So if they get that signal there from that your state board doesn't work, it's a signal to this 10 lakh. It's not for that 2,000 people's issue, which means your state board will be destroyed. It's no good. If it's not good for getting jobs, what is it good for? And then you will have inferiority complex because many people will not be able to get in. Then you will have actually, oh, Tamil Nadu board is actually so backward, it's modern, syllabus is not modern. You will have arguments like this. How do you measure modernity? They will look at you. They will say everybody knows. Everybody will know, but nobody will be able to demonstrate. Kishore Boigyani Prahotshan Jojana, which is a scheme of the Department of Science and Technology in Indian Institute of Science, India's #1 university, came up with a study which shows that in none of the science subjects CBSE students top when tested in a neutral platform. That is very important. A neutral platform, a neutral playing field is very important. But more important than a neutral playing field, I want to play in my field. My field belongs to me. Medical colleges in Tamil Nadu and West Bengal are made by the blood and sweat and revenue of Bengal's people and Tamil Nadu's people. Why should this be given to exactly this kind of class, urban, rich, less likely to know Tamil sort of people? Which means that we are also putting our public healthcare system into danger. Today itself, the doctors do not want to go to rural areas. Think about this, what kind of creatures will this kind of system produce? First of all, they will think US. Secondly, they will think escorts in Delhi or Nanavati in Mumbai. Third, they will think Apollo in Chennai. And fourth, they will not think about. So, which means that if it is hard to get a specialist, if it is hard to get an MBBS in a rural hospital, okay, now there is an MBBS in rural hospital and district hospital, let's say there is a specialist. I'm giving you an example. And in your Apex hospital, tertiary, let's say Stanley Medical College, there are better among the specialists. The moment your talent pool from the up becomes this rootless class, this deracinated class, this essentially culturally illiterate, incidentally Tamil people, okay, incidentally Tamil, they happen to be Tamil, okay, then of course that part of, so who is in Stanley Medical College will then be now sitting in escorts. So whoever is in district hospital will now be sitting in Stanley Medical College. So whoever in the rural hospital will be sitting in the district hospital, and the rural hospital will become a ghost town, a ghost building. So we are looking at this very dangerous, a public health crisis. Okay, so the way forward. There's a legal way forward, which I think, I'm forgetting the name of the justice, he has been proposing for quite some time. However, it's also a political question, because we must remember that why is NEET here? Why was the Supreme Court decision of a Chief Justice of India overturned? This is not a simple matter. And overturned without, as I heard from the people who were there during the hearing, said overturned, okay, order passed. Which means that there was a fixed agenda. And you can see from yesterday in Supreme Court that even before the judgment is there in Supreme Court website, Law Ministry is getting it. So I do not know whether Law Ministry is getting it from Supreme Court or some other direction things are moving. Okay, I would not like to comment on that. But we understand in what crisis we are in, right? So it has to be fought politically. How has it to be first fought politically? 2019. In 2019, forces which stand for federalism, forces which stand for constitution have to defeat forces of Hindustan. There is no other alternative. For Tamil people, there is no other alternative. For Bengali people, there is no alternative. For all non-Hindi people, there is no alternative. And for all secular Democrats in the Hindi belt, there is no alternative. We must remember that this is a fight for whether federal structure will be there. This is a fight for whether a constitutional republic will exist in the Indian Union after 2019. Okay, it's a much bigger fight than NEET, but if we win, we can put NEET into garbage. We need a fundamental restructuring of the concurrent list, state list issue. Education must be brought back into the state list. Okay, and for that, one has to have a realistic political plan. And in this question, I would say yes, and I am not using the word fringe in the Delhi Ambani sense of fringe, but here the main vehicle of this change has to be the Tamil political mainstream.
Yes, yeah. Thinking of 2019, now that the momentum is maybe setting in with the Karnataka results going to be out on May 15th. On the ground, there is kind of momentum, anti-BJP momentum from whatever reporters who are covering the Karnataka elections. We are hearing that. But also you have Madhya Pradesh elections coming, where you see extrajudicial killings. They have, for the first time, they have increased the age of retirement of government employees to 62. They are getting ready to, their momentum to create pro BJP momentum. They are also getting ready for that. Here, maybe South India is getting ready for a different kind of momentum, but Madhya Pradesh is also getting ready for their own momentum. So, how do you see these things playing out with Lalu Prasad Yadav in Bihar, Mamata in West Bengal, DMK and ADMK in Tamil Nadu, and Pinarayi Vijayan in Kerala, maybe Siddaramaiah again in Kannada? We don't know yet. Chandrababu Naidu is also trying to rise to the occasion. Where do you see the whole thing playing out in 2009?
Let me first talk of an ideal situation that you are a Tamil, I am a Bengali, and you are looking at the sentiment of people in Karnataka and Madhya Pradesh to think about what will happen to us is the first problem, right? This problem has to be recognized. So we want to govern ourselves in a certain way, but if people of Madhya Pradesh think differently, we will not be able to govern ourselves in that way. That is ridiculous, right? So which means that what is the question here? The question is one of federal structure. It has been systematically destroyed since 1947. Systematically. Okay. So state power has to come back, and now I am very happy that. So yes, you mentioned these names. Problem is that in many cases, what do these names represent is not discussed. So yes, you will hear that Mayawati erected statues of Dalit icons, and that's the only, as if in 5 years a person in governance only erected statues, right? So we do not often discuss. So let me tell you. So for example, Mamata Banerjee last year, she has made it very clear. There should be only 4 departments in the hand of the center: external affairs, external defense, railways and currency. K. Chandrasekhar Rao has given a very similar viewpoint. N. Chandrababu Naidu in recent past has talked about high TFR rates in cowbelt states. Siddaramaiah has talked about changing union of states into a federation of states. I mean, you are very unfortunate people to have the government that you have at this point of time. And so it's very interesting to see how a federalist like Mamata Banerjee recognizes that what is at political play here. For example, she very clearly said that in her proposed federal front, or KCR in the federal front, she offhandedly said, yes, from Tamil Nadu, DMK will be there, right? It's very interesting. DMK is not in power in Tamil Nadu, right? So which means that the dynamic is much more important than the reality we see right now. And the dynamic, as you mentioned, why is there an anti-BJP wave? I would say, wave or not, we will see, but anti-BJP feeling in a place where BJP is out spending the Congress by many times, and Congress is an incumbent government. Flag, language, nationality. Okay. In consonance with the Indian Union Constitution, keeping Indian Union united and all of this. Siddaramaiah has spoken very clearly about it and eloquently about it. So this is the direction. So as you can see, even being outspent, even being incumbent, one is able to fight off a kind of a Hindustan onslaught. How? So I think Siddaramaiah right now is setting a very important template for all the non-Hindi states of the Indian Union, right? Because you will be outspent. ADR came up with data. 65% of money, official money that is, declared money in the Indian Union with political parties, it lies with BJP. So 31% of the people voted for BJP. 65% of the money is with BJP. What does that tell you? It It means people are not paying money. Somebody else is paying money, right? Also, BJP wins in states where the monetary situation is worse. West Bengal, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Karnataka, these subsidize these Hindi states. So it's even so the ratio actually is even worse than 31 is to 65. Okay, right? Which means that Indian crony capitalism, okay, has clearly now gone in the favor of BJP. This is classic textbook fascism. When you have a supremacist ideology, Hindi, Hindu, Hindustan, when you have a kind of an imperial kind of ideology with full backing of the Delhi, Mumbai, Bengaluru sort of floating corporate class. Okay. This is a huge danger for the citizens of the Indian Union, right? So this has to be really fought, and I think these are early days, but a certain kind of moods you can see. Delhi media may say anything about Kaveri being fringe, may say anything about India betrays Tamil Nadu being work of fringe. They may say anything about IPL boycott being in so bad taste. Okay. But the fact that they are forced to do prime time shows about it tells you that even they cannot ignore. Because when Delhi makes Tamil Nadu something prime time, it means the actual significance of it is 50 times more than what they want to show it as. It's always true.
Yeah, intellectuals like Gopalakrishna Gandhi, they started talking about the importance of C.N. Annadurai. They may not have spoken about it maybe 10 years earlier. They may not have spoken about why C.N. Annadurai is important, why the momentum of 1967 is important. But you have been able to see the importance of Anna, and you have been telling particularly the Delhi media that that moment of 1967 is important even today in the present context as well. Can you elaborate on that?
See, Gopalakrishna Gandhi would not talk about C.N. Annadurai if UPA would not have lost in 2014. Okay. So let us understand the Nehruvian kind of unity, which is anti-federal, and the Deen Dayal Upadhyay unity of anti-federal, both have no place for C.N. Annadurai. This has to be understood.
But in 1959, when Annadurai was in Rajya Sabha, they could at least give that kind of space for Annadurai, that he was a Rajya Sabha member. He was not stopped while talking about the need for going away from India. Yeah, he talked about it. At least that space was there.
These are Cambridge educated people.
Okay.
They don't send goons into Rajya Sabha. They change the law 3 years later. That's how they do it. See, these are sophisticated goons. Okay. So you have to realize. So after 63 now, there will be no Annadurai speech in Rajya Sabha. All the tolerance is gone. So let us not, and also the fact that a representative of the Tamil people was allowed to speak. Who did you allow or disallow? Is representing the people. If when Annadurai is speaking, the Tamil people are speaking. So Delhi will allow whether Tamil people will speak or not. Who they think they are? Kuvempu said that when Nehru comes to Karnataka, he had a very famous quote that let him learn Kannada. Okay, and he said Nehru is not bigger than Kannada. Very important. The fact that I as a Bengali live in this strange conception of the Indian Union where I studied till class 12. I studied in a West Bengal board, and that is the good fortune of my 14 ancestors which is bestowing on me that I know something about my own land. But if for the poor souls who study in Delhi board CBSE types, you can go through contemporary understanding of Indian politics culture without knowing the name of Annadurai or Kuvempu. Think about it, right? And now Gopal Krishna Gandhi remembers Annadurai, right? We have to realize what Annadurai represents. Annadurai represents the radical transformation of the Indian Union from being a Delhi controlled empire to a real federation of brotherly people who are united on the basis of federalism as a single state. Okay? One army, one border, one currency, one foreign policy. Okay? Very clear. That's what Anna represents. When that is true, it means that there will be Tamil Nadu tenders for Chennai airport, which means Chennai will retain both airport and tender money, while now you have airport here, tender money elsewhere, right? So exactly these kind of changes where regional bourgeoisie or national bourgeoisie of various nationalities in the Indian Union can develop, this is exactly the scheme which Delhi really fears. Because then what will happen is BJP will not have 65% of the money. And without 65% of the money, an ideology of hate cannot win. So Annadurai is extremely relevant. You must have heard of fathers and mothers and brothers and grandmothers of Indian nationalism. But even federalism has fathers. Annadurai is among the tallest among them. Another name which I think Tamil should also learn is the name of somebody called Chittaranjan Das, C.R. Das. He's not merely a Congress leader. Look at his federalist vision. It's very important.
So the question of capital is also coming in. The importance of capital is also to be talked about. So in that context, the GST is an onslaught on federalism. And a country like United States of America, with 50 states cannot implement one country, one law, one tax kind of law. But here you had this onslaught, despite the opposition from Jayalalitha, Mamata Banerjee and others. And how do we bring back the capital to the states? That is the question now. So without the capital, you cannot do the kind of politics that is required at this point in time. So how do we tackle that?
GST, I think, was probably after education in concurrent list one of the biggest defeats of the federalist vision of the Indian Union. Which means that if today there is a huge, God forbid, that there is a huge cyclone in Tamil Nadu, okay, prices on jewelry here cannot be increased to raise relief money. That's what this means. Let us understand very clearly what this means. It means that Tamil Nadu's revenue rates will not be determined by Tamil Nadu's realities. It's a very dangerous scenario. If that is what happens, now there is a question, and I hope people, because Tamils in the federalist vision and in their national consciousness are advanced people with a significant national bourgeoisie, which Bengalis lack, for various reasons. And the reasons are not internal, the reasons are external, let me put it also on record. So they should think about launching a Supreme Court case on whether GST is constitutional or not. It is something that has not been explored. I was reading a paper by Jaswant Sinha. This was in NDA time, first NDA time. So they are tinkering with the idea of GST. GST idea has been there for quite some time in these Delhi people's mind. So then he was saying that of course he is saying good things about it. Of course good things about them, right? If you stop all flexible sources of income for the states, what else is good for Delhi? Okay. When you make them into slaves. So money comes to you and then you disburse, and they will say we are giving. This giving business will start. So anyway, so he was saying that yes, GST is good, etc. from his point of view, but he said that he is not sure, but he is not sure whether it will survive a challenge on the basis of constitutionality, because federal structure is an inalienable or legislatively unchangeable portion of the Indian Constitution, which means you cannot change the Constitution to do it. Now, Supreme Court, for good reason, has not defined what this federal structure means, because that is the realm of politics, right? So it has not defined it. But with every such advancing case, the definition gets demarcated, right? So somebody should launch that. That's number one. Secondly, it's also very important that what Jayalalitha's vote meant. Opposition, yes. See, Trinamool opposed. Okay. Trinamool opposed its fast implementation. But in a revenue deficit situation where Finance Commission takes away so much of your money, your own mines, West Bengal provides 20% of minerals of the Indian Union, and it's a indebted state. We know the case of Kalahandi in Odisha, which is a major mineral area. It's one of the poorest areas of the world. And some people think, oh, how strange is it? It's not strange at all. The reason whole South Asia was poor while Britain was getting rich is exactly the reason why Kalahandi is poor and the highways are being built in Delhi. There's nothing surprising about it. This Shashi Tharoor will tell you that India has whatever 21-22% of world GDP during 1757 when the British came. In 1947 when they were left, it was this percentage. Agreed. What is the reason? British imperialism. So in 1947, if we go back, what percentage of revenue is coming from West Bengal and what is it today? And what is the reason? Bengali mindset. Very strange. Let us have a single kind of parameter for understanding all of this. Suddenly, imperialism becomes mindset, right? Because when you are an imperialist, it is your subject people's mindset. Poor are poor because they are lazy, right? Any rich person will tell you this. So that's the thing. We have to realize that GST is a very fundamental assault. And so revenue deficit states like West Bengal, and I can understand that, because they will be looking at much more short-term questions. Because if you are indebted, you are pressurized like that. You cannot take long-range policy decisions. You might have an ideology, but you cannot play it out. Which is why I think Jayalalitha was able to actually put out a certain ideological stance on it, because the revenue situation is not as bad. Okay. Even after feeding Bihar and UP, it still has some money left. After feeding Bihar and UP, we do not have any money left. Center takes our money. It's a very strange scenario. My money is taken by center. So I am given 40 takas, you take 60 takas. In 40 takas, of course, my own expenses don't happen. Then you give back part of that 60 takas as loan to me and then get interest on it. And then I am indebted apparently. So this system has to change. But let me come back to the Rajya Sabha vote on constitutional amendment which AIADMK did. It's a very significant vote because it did not oppose it. It is very important for Indian Union citizens and also the Tamil people for realize that AIADMK under Jayalalitha, and I should mention AIADMK under Jayalalitha, did not oppose GST in Rajya Sabha. They walked out saying Rajya Sabha has no jurisdiction on this matter, which means they were basically hinting at the unconstitutionality of it. It's a very important thing which should be pursued. Nobody opposed. People walked out because they said that Rajya Sabha does not have a jurisdiction. Rajya Sabha is union government. They do not have jurisdiction on basically passing a law which is unconstitutional. That is basically the inner meaning or let's say philosophical underpinning of Jayalalitha's position. People who basically in Marina get inspired by Jayalalitha's spirit, I think they will also get inspired by Jayalalitha's that part of the spirit, I hope.
Okay, great talking to you, Garga. It's a pleasure,
Yes.
and you gave great insights into federalism, and these conversations are important.
Very important.
Very important.
Yes.
Thank you.
Tamils and Bengalis should talk not necessarily via Delhi but to each other directly.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
வணக்கம் அன்பு சொந்தங்களே. ஊடகங்கள் என்பவை அரசாங்கங்களை, தொழில்களை மக்களுக்கு பதிலளிக்க கடமைப்பட்டவர்களாக மாற்றுகிறவை. சுதந்திரமான ஊடகங்கள் முன்னெப்போதும் இல்லாத அளவுக்கு இந்திய திருநாட்டுக்கு அவசியப்படுகிற ஒரு காலகட்டத்தில் நாம் வாழ்ந்து கொண்டிருக்கிறோம். அந்த தேவையை உணர்ந்துதான் இப்போது.com கடந்த 30 மாதங்களுக்கு மேலாக உங்களோடு பயணம் செய்து கொண்டிருக்கிறது. அறிவார்ந்த தமிழ் சமூகம், அறம் செறிந்த தமிழ் சமூகம் என்கிற லட்சிய பாதையில் பயணம் செய்கிற இப்போது.com உடைய பத்திரிகையாளர்கள் அவர்களுக்கு அவர்களுடைய வாழ்வாதாரத்திற்காக நாம் அவ்வப்போது உங்களிடம் உதவிகளை கோரி வருகிறோம். ஒவ்வொரு செய்திகளை நீங்கள் படித்த பிறகும் அதற்கு கீழே இந்த சுதந்திரமான ஊடகத்திற்கு உங்களுடைய ஆதரவை வழங்குங்கள் என்கிற கோரிக்கை இருக்கும். அதே போல இந்த வீடியோவுக்கு கீழே உள்ள டிஸ்கிரிப்ஷன் அல்லது விளக்கத்திலும் கூட ஒரு லிங்க் இருக்கும். அந்த லிங்கை அழுத்தினீர்கள் என்றால் 5 ரூபாய், 50 ரூபாய் அல்லது 500 ரூபாய் எங்களுக்கு நிதி உதவி அளிப்பதற்கான பட்டன்கள் இருக்கும். அதை பயன்படுத்தி இப்போது.com ஆதரியுங்கள். சுதந்திரமான ஊடகவியல் மூலமாக வலுவான தமிழ் சமூகத்தை கட்டி எழுப்புவோம். நன்றி.